Greetings. Welcome to Daily News Simplified, the how, what, and why of newspaper reading. Today we are going to analyze the Hindu Delhi edition, 1st of August 2018. Page number 1 and 10 present an article which talks about Supreme Court's observation about National Register of Citizens published by the Assam government. Now, as far as this topic is concerned, this will fall under General Studies paper 2 and will be covered under Governance and Constitution. Let's begin. Now let us try to understand the important point mentioned in the article. Why Supreme Court has asked to set procedure to vet the NRC claim. Now, first and foremost, second draft of National Register of Citizens by Assam has been published. It was a much anticipated document, but this document gave birth to a problem as well. Now, out of the population of Assam, roughly 3.29 crore, 2.9 crore people are part of this register. It means 40 lakh people are out of this ambit. Now, this number is huge, and impact of not being part of the National Register of Citizens actually changes a lot of things. It means that these people will be considered foreigners and they will be deported. Now, 40 lakh people, as already mentioned, is a huge number, and this actually brought Supreme Court into the entire scheme of things. And Supreme Court has said that there is no need to initiate any action immediately against these 40 lakh people. Supreme Court want government to take cognition of this important development and actually set a fair standard operating procedure to deal with the claims. Now, it is important to understand that people might have missed registering themselves in the National Register because of many reasons. First, lack of education. People are not aware how this is going to impact them in the time to come. This can also be because of lack of awareness. It can also be because of the poverty. When people are poor, they do not have documents to substantiate their claim. Considering this, Supreme Court is of the opinion that we should set fair standard operating procedure, and it has asked the government to lay out the right type of guidelines in terms of standard operating procedure, that is SOP. Now, as far as the state NRC is considered, they have given a very clear-cut deadline that from 7th of August to 2018, people have to ascertain their names in the NRC list, and if they do not do this thing in the given period of time, they can visit the local registrar or NRC Seva Kendra to find out the reason for their exclusion. Now, the process is basically done from August 30 to September 28 of this year. Now, this is what the response of NRC has been on this particular issue. Anyone who is excluded, who is not part of the National Register of Citizens, shall report the matter and find out the reason why they are excluded out of this register. Now, let's try to understand why National Register of Citizens is such an important thing. First and foremost, first NRC was prepared in the year 1951 on the basis of the first census after independence. Those who are not the part of this NRC will be considered as foreigner and will be excluded from the country or will be sent to their parent country. NRC also regards all those people who came to India after 24th of March 1971 as illegal immigrants regardless of their religion. Now, these illegal immigrants need to be identified, deleted from their electoral rolls, and are deported back to Bangladesh as per the Assam Accord. Now, it is also important for us to understand what is Assam Accord. Now, Assam Accord was signed between the Government of India, State Government of Assam, and leader of Assam movement. Now, as far as the Assam movement leaders are concerned, these are called as All Assam Students Union and All Assam Gana Sangram Parishad. Now, the base year for the deletion of the foreigners is 1st of January 1966, as already mentioned. 1st of January 1966. In the later part of this year, there has been a lot of movement from Bangladesh to neighboring state of Assam, and this actually influenced the demography of the Assam in a significant fashion. Now, this actually also puts a lot of pressure on the resources of the state, where employment is a big issue. Now, considering this thing, the state government has decided that all those who came to India after 1st of January 1966 to 24th of March 1971 shall be detected. Once they are detected, their name shall be removed from their electoral rolls. Once their name is deleted from the electoral rolls, they will be considered or they will be dealt in the provisions given in Foreigner Act of 1946. They will no longer be part of the India and they will lose their right to stay in the state of Assam or any other part of country, and they shall be sent to their native country. Now, page number 11 of today's newspaper presents a wonderful article which talks about more time for citizenship bill JPC. Now, this particular article should be seen in continuation with the National Register for Citizenship as discussed in the previous article. Now, as far as this article is concerned, this will fall under the General Studies paper 2 and will be the part of governance. So, let's try to understand what kind of a problem this bill might face. Now, first and foremost, when you talk about JPC, JPC means Joint Parliamentary Committee, and Joint Parliamentary Committee is actually analyzing a bill, the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016. Now, the important point is JPC has been given more time. It means they can submit their report by the end of the winter session of the Parliament. Now, what they are trying to analyze goes somewhere against the National Register of Citizens, which is the part of Assam Accord of 1985. So let's try to understand the problem. Now, the bill, that is the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016, relates to citizenship to minority communities from Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsis, Christian from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, where they have been prosecuted. Now, in order to protect them, the citizenship is being granted to them even when they have been illegal migrants or they have traveled on the valid documents, but their documents have expired. In this case, citizenship is being offered to them. Now, the provision of this bill go against the provision of Assam Accord, and how it is going to actually change the entire scenario between two documents. We need to understand this. Now, the first and foremost, the bill allows citizenship to some illegal migrants who came to India after 24th of March 1971. Now, as discussed earlier, according to Assam Accord, anyone who is in India and is not a citizen of India shall be detained and deported. But according to the Citizenship Amendment Bill, they can be granted citizenship of India. Now, this is a direct contrast between NRC and the Citizenship Amendment Bill of 2016. Second, it implies that minority communities who are illegal migrants of a specific group shall not be deported or imprisoned. Now, this is something which is very different because when we talk about NRC or the Assam Accord, it was free of any religious preference. But this particular bill, Citizenship Amendment Bill, talks about few particular groups. And fourth important point is NRC puts onus on migrants to prove their status of residence, but in the case of Citizenship Amendment Bill, no such onus has been defined. Government has clearly said that people coming from these communities, specific communities, whether they traveled on valid or legal documents or their documents have expired, can be granted the citizenship of India if they do not want to their parent country. So in this way, we have understood the difference between Citizenship Amendment Bill and why JPC require more time to understand the provisions or nuances of this bill and how this goes against the National Register of Citizens and the Assam Accord. Page number 9 of today's newspaper covers a very important article about India and South Korea relationships. Now this article is very important because President Moon Jae-in is on a 4-day visit to India. Now, as far as this topic is considered, this topic will fall under General Studies paper 2 and will be part of international relation. In terms of subtopic, this will be part of bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. Let's begin. This article should be seen in a very specific light. First and foremost, South Korean President Mr. Moon Jae-in is trying to balance his strategic interest. It is well known that the economy of South Korea is heavily dependent on China and the US. But because of the recent power politics between China and the US, and you can say and more of an explicit trade war between the two countries, the entire region is suffering because of economic problems. Now, in order to solve this problem or in order to diversify the risk, Mr. Moon is trying to reach out to the southern countries. Now, when I say southern countries, his policy has a specific agenda. Mr. Moon has recently launched new southern policy in which he is reaching out to ASEAN countries and to India. The objective is very simple, not to get caught up in the war of words or war of trade between China and USA, but to diversify the interest and maintain economic growth from the perspective of business and development. Now, as far as this particular policy is concerned, Mr. Moon, when he got elected, he sent a special envoy to India. The purpose of sending this envoy is to highlight the importance that the South Korean president gives to the relationship with India. Third, and the important point which have already been mentioned, that South Korea is heavily impacted by US-China power politics. The reason is very simple. The economy of South Korea is heavily dependent in terms of sourcing the raw material and also for the purpose of market in the US and China domain. That is why they want to reach out to the other countries which can actually consume the products that are being produced by South Korean economy. Now, another point which actually has influenced South Korea's decision to look out is the controversy regarding THAAD missile defense system. Now, in the Korean Peninsula, South Korea recently installed THAAD missile defense system in order to protect itself from North Korea or from other neighboring countries, and this has impacted its relationship with China. China didn't like that South Korea has installed this missile defense system, and this missile system is targeting towards China. Now, this actually led to a war of words between China and South Korea, and hence South Korea is looking for support even outside the region. Next important point is uncertainty regarding South Korea's core economic interest. Now, the way the China has been growing the recent past, it has actually influenced the economy of a lot of countries. So they need to understand that they have to diversify their risk. Now, Korea has to understand that it has to grow in association with other leading countries of the area. Keeping this thing in mind, South Korea is reaching out to other major powerful countries of the world. Now, next and most important aspect is South Korea is diversifying its relation with other major powers in the region. And considering this, it has actually elevated India's relation at par with the US, China, Japan, and Russia. This shows the kind of commitment they have shown towards India's interest. And this India's interest, India's specific interest, has been shown at many other platforms. These platforms are very important, first and foremost, to ensure freedom of navigation and unimpeded lawful commerce in the Indo-Pacific region. You are aware about the South China Sea controversy and the kind of impact or influence China has in that region, in which countries require freedom of navigation for trade related purpose. Now, South Korea has sided by India on many occasions, and there is one particular thing in which South Korea actually supported India's bid for NSG. Now, it remains to be highlighted that China opposed India's bid for NSG, and it actually tried to influence South Korea to vote against India as well. Now, as far as India's interests are concerned, South Korea is also helping India in developing regional association or regional development by investing in Afghanistan and other areas. Now, with this, we have come to the end of this article. Page number 3 of today's newspaper presents a very important article which talks about Rajasthan being the first state to implement national policy on biofuels. Now, as far as this topic is concerned, this topic will again fall under General Studies paper 3. It will be largely covered under biodiversity and environment, but can also relate to economic development because it is a part of transport. As far as subtopic is concerned, it will be covered under conservation, environmental pollution and degradation, environmental impact assessment. Let's begin the article. Now, the main point of the article are very simple. The focus of Rajasthan would be to increase the production of oil seeds. Second, there will be a center of excellence at Udaipur. Now, as far as these 2 points are concerned, let's first understand the points in perspective. First and foremost, Rajasthan is actually having a very dry type of climate. and this climate is suitable for production of oil seeds. Moreover, there is a third benefit. Oil seeds normally fetch more than other agriculture crops. So if this particular idea is implemented properly, it means once we increase the production of oil seeds, the farmers in the Rajasthan will benefit a lot. Now, second important aspect is center of excellence at Udaipur. Now, the idea of establishing the Center of Excellence is very simple. First and foremost, it will promote research in the field of alternative fuels and energy resources. Now, the next aspect is understanding the national policy on biofuel itself because it encourages this type of oilseed productions. Now, the first and foremost, the objective of national biofuel policy is to help farmers dispose of their surplus stocks. So, whatever production they want to do, whatever is surplus, they can sell it on a good price. Now, second important is reduce India's dependence on oil import and how to ensure this. A very simple aspect to produce by producing biofuels using ethanol. Now, earlier, ethanol was produced only through sugarcane. Now the situation has improved considerably because not only sugarcane but sugar containing material such as starch containing material, damaged food grains like wheat and broken rice, and rotten potatoes can also be used for the production of ethanol. Now, in this fashion, when ethanol is produced, it is going to benefit farmers in a very significant fashion. Why? Those type of yields which are starch containing but are of low yield variety in terms of damaged or broken grains that can also fetch good value to the farmers. Now let us take up the benefits that we can draw from this national policy on biofuels which is implemented by Rajasthan. First and foremost is the improved supply of biofuels. Right now the biofuels are primarily based on ethanol which is drawn from the alcohol industry. Now, once the biofuel is also being produced by yield like corn, cassava, damaged food grains like wheat and broken rice, and rotten potatoes, the production of biofuels will go considerably high, and this will improve the supply side. Second important aspect is reducing the cost of biofuels. So right now, as already mentioned, the biofuels are drawn entirely from ethanol industry and which draws this from alcohol industry. So once this larger variety like corn, cassava, damaged food grains like rice, wheat and rice and rotten potatoes are used, this will improve the availability of raw material for creating biofuels and this will bring down the cost as well. Second is it will once the cost is reduced, it will also improve the affordability of biofuel. Third and the most important aspect is once we are start using biofuels, biofuels have very low suspended particulate material, they have low carbon monoxide, they have low carbon dioxide, and third important aspect is they have low nitrous oxide. So overall the environment would be much cleaner if we use biofuels. So this policy is going to benefit us in a big fashion. Now let us take up a question which was there in 2017 prelims examination. It is possible to produce algae-based biofuels. Now here pay attention. We have talked about biofuels in terms of what kind of sources they are going to use. Here also sources are being emphasized. But what is or are the likely limitations of developing countries in promoting this industry? Now, as far as this question is concerned, the correct answer is option B, that is 2 and 3. So let's just pay attention. Setting up and engineering the algae-based biofuel production requires high level of expertise and technology until the construction is completed. And second is economically viable production necessitates the setting up of large scale facilities which may raise ecological and social concerns. So these two are correct. But third, the first statement is definitely not correct. Production of algae-based biofuels is possible in seas only and not on the continent. This is not correct. So you can see that how important this information is from the perspective of biofuels. Page number 18 of today's newspaper presents a wonderful article which talks about NBRC researchers decipher how Zika virus causes microcephaly. Now, there are important things to be mentioned. First is the Zika virus, second is microcephaly, and we should also know about NBRC. Now, as far as this topic is concerned, this will fall under General Studies paper 3, and this will be part of technology. Specifically, it will talk about achievements of Indians in science and technology. Let's begin our analysis. Now, first and foremost, a team at NBRC, that is National Brain Research Center, has successfully identified the reason for microcephaly caused by Zika. Now, some of you might be wondering what microcephaly is. So, this is what the question that we are looking for. Microcephaly is a medical condition in which the brain does not develop properly, resulting in a smaller head than normal in children. So this is what the microcephaly is. Now, as far as some of the victims of Zika virus, if you can recall, the image would look something like this. So on the right hand side, you can see this is a normal child, in which the brain development or head development is normal. But those who are suffering from microcephaly, the size of the brain and head is very small. You can see the outline. This is the outline. This should have been the normal growth rate, but you can see there is a big gap here in the size of head and brain. Now, this has been caused by microcephaly caused by Zika virus. Now, this takes us to the next important point of the question. E protein is responsible for microcephaly. So, E protein is what? Now, this is envelope protein. Now, envelope protein basically cause microcephaly, and how do they operate? Their operation is very simple in nature. What they do, that when the fetus is being developed, the virus enters into the brain stem cells. Now, this entry is facilitated by E protein, and once this virus reach the stem cells of the brain, they actually inhibit any kind of neural development, and this leads to smaller brain size or smaller head size in children. The team at NBRC has deciphered why this microcephaly takes place in the case of people who are infected by Zika virus. Now the article takes us to another aspect of Zika virus. E protein of Zika virus is highly mutated. Highly mutated means it has changed a lot and is very different from flavivirus that we have already seen. Now understand this point, that Zika virus is also a type of flavivirus. Some other flavivirus that we have seen in the recent time are dengue, West Nile virus, yellow fever, and Japanese encephalitis. All these viruses fall under the category of flavivirus, and all of them have proteins to intrude into the stem cells. But it has been observed by NBRC that the E protein of Zika virus is highly mutated and is actually very potent. Now, when I talk about potent, it simply means that it is very strong in arresting the proliferation of brain stem cells. This is why the Zika virus is considered so deadly. Now let us take up the previous year question asked on a similar topic. 2017, we have seen a question on Zika virus directly. So you can see in tropical region, Zika virus disease is transmitted by the same mosquito that transmits dengue. And second is sexual transmission of Zika virus disease is possible. Both the options, both the statements are correct. Statement 1 and statement 2, and hence correct answer is option C. So you can see how easy it is to relate the information which can be created into UPSC centric information. Second question, 2015, again, H1N1 virus is sometimes mentioned in the news with reference to which one of the following disease. Now this question is of 2015 and the correct answer is swine flu, that is option D. Page number 18 of today's newspaper presents another interesting article which can be clubbed under the category of General Studies Paper 3, and its relationship is with biodiversity and environment. Now this topic is actually interesting because it talks about king penguin. Let's try to understand the basics of this article. Now the important point of the articles are very clear. First and foremost is the planet's largest colony of king penguins has declined by 90%. Now, one of the important features of the penguin kings are that they are non-migratory in nature. Since they are non-migratory in nature, they stayed glued to a particular spot and try to survive there. As far as the largest colony of king penguin is concerned, this is on the France's remote island Oxcochons. So this is what the island is, and if you try to figure out in the map, this is South Africa. You can see here, this is South Africa, this is tip of Antarctica. So it is in the between this South Africa and Antarctica. So this is more of a South Indian Ocean. Now this island, almost 3 decades back, so if I talk about 3 decades back, this island had around 2 million penguins. But the recent satellite image has showed that the population now stands at around 200,000. So from 20 lakh, the population has come down to 2 lakhs. So this is a very significant fall of around 90%. Now, why this has happened? There is no particular reason which can be attributed for the fall in the population right now. The reason is yet to be explored and understood. However, climate change may be a very strong reason for this fall in the population. Now it has been seen that migration is not an option for these flightless birds. At the same time, in 1997, a strong El Nino current warmed the western Indian Ocean, thereby pushing the fish and squid beyond the foraging region. So scientists think that lack of food might be the reason why the population has come down to such an extent. Now let us see how this information can be converted into something which can be utilized for the UPSC preparation. Now this is the question which I have devised for you. Now France's remote island of Cochon, which has recently been in news, is famous for. So there are options like king penguins, a type of grass, seagull, or satellite launch station. Now this type of question you can see in the UPSC examination, where an island which was in news for king penguins has been asked, and the correct answer in this case would be option A. So whatever information that you acquire over a period of time through newspaper, you should try to create questions which you can practice over a period of time so that the concepts are very clear to you. With this, we have come to the end of today's analysis. Let's move to the question of the day.